Only for one night, crime, drama, romance, the city was quiet in a way that felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Streetlights painted the wet road in soft yellow lines, and the sound of distant traffic moved like a slow river in the background. He walked with his hands in his jacket pockets, head down, eyes watching every shadow. His name was Daniel, and he had learned long ago that nights like this could change a life in one small moment. Daniel had not planned to be out so late. He told himself he only needed some air, a short walk to clear his thoughts. But the truth was deeper than that. His mind was full of things he did not want to remember, and his small apartment felt too quiet, too empty. Every sound inside those walls reminded him of what he had lost and what he was still running from. So he chose the street instead, the open space, the chance to blend into the crowd even when the crowd was gone. On the other side of the same street, a woman stood under the light of a closed cafe sign. Her name was Lily. She held a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold, but she did not care. She liked the warmth of the cup in her hands more than the drink inside. Lily had finished a long shift at a nearby hospital, and her feet ached with every step she took. But it was not just her body that felt tired. Her heart felt heavy, too. Lily had lost someone once, someone who promised to come back and never did. The kind of loss that did not come with a clear ending, only questions that never stopped. She had learned to keep moving, to keep working, to keep breathing, but some nights the quiet made the pain feel louder. This was one of those nights. Daniel noticed her before he meant to. Maybe it was the way she stood still while the world moved around her, or the way the light touched her face, soft and tired but strong at the same time. He slowed his steps without thinking, his eyes meeting hers for a second longer than normal. Lily saw him too. She saw the way he looked over his shoulder, the way his body stayed tense even when he tried to relax. She had seen that look before on people who carried something heavy inside, something they did not want to share. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The city filled the space between them with distant sounds, a car passing, a door closing somewhere far away. Then Daniel cleared his throat. "Long night?" he asked, his voice low and careful. Lily gave a small smile. "You could say that. Long day, long week, maybe even a long year." Daniel nodded, like he understood more than he said. "Yeah, I know that feeling." They stood there, two strangers connected by nothing more than a few simple words and the quiet of the night. But sometimes that was enough to open a door. Lily took a step closer to the streetlight, and Daniel followed without thinking. The light showed more of their faces now. Daniel's eyes looked tired, but kind. Lily's smile was gentle, but guarded. "Are you waiting for someone?" Daniel asked. Lily shook her head. "No. Just waiting for the night to end, I guess." Daniel let out a small laugh. "That makes two of us." They talked about simple things at first. The weather, the closed cafe, the way the city felt different at night. Daniel said he worked in shipping, a job that kept him moving, never staying in one place too long. Lily talked about the hospital, about how helping people sometimes made her feel stronger and weaker at the same time. As the minutes passed, the space between them felt smaller. The night no longer felt so cold. But behind Daniel's calm words, his mind was still working, still watching. Every sound made him tense. Every passing car made his heart beat faster. Lily noticed. "You okay?" she asked softly. Daniel hesitated. He almost lied. He was good at that, but something about the way she looked at him made him pause. "Yeah," he said, then corrected himself. I mean, mostly. Just, not a big fan of surprises. Lily nodded. Neither am I. They shared a quiet moment, both thinking about the things they did not say. Daniel checked his phone. No new messages, but that did not make him feel better. He had been waiting for a sign, for something to tell him if he was safe or not. The phone stayed silent, and the silence felt loud. Lily wrapped her jacket tighter around herself. "Do you ever feel like one night can change everything?" she asked, almost to herself. Daniel looked at her, surprised. "All the time," he said. "Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse." She met his eyes. Maybe tonight can be a better one. He did not know why, but he wanted to believe her. They decided to walk together, just down the street. No real plan, just moving. Their steps fell into an easy rhythm. Daniel felt his shoulders relax a little, even though part of him stayed alert. As they passed a small park, Lily pointed to the empty benches. "I used to come here with someone I cared about," she said. "We thought the world was simple back then." Daniel listened. He did not push for more, but he felt the weight in her words. "People leave," Lily continued. "Sometimes they mean to. Sometimes they don't. But the space they leave behind always feels the same." Daniel stopped walking. He looked at her, really looked at her. "Some people leave because they think it's the only way to keep others safe," he said. Lily studied his face. "Is that something you've done?" Daniel did not answer right away. Then he nodded once. "Yeah." The truth hung between them, even though neither of them fully understood the other's story yet. A siren sounded far away, soft but clear in the night air. Daniel's body stiffened without him meaning to. Lily noticed again.
"Hey," she said gently.
"You don't have to be afraid right now. You're not alone." Daniel took a slow breath. He wanted to believe that too. They reached a small building with a sign for a short-stay hotel, the kind of place people went when they did not want to go home. Lily stopped walking. "I don't really want to be alone tonight," she said quietly. "Not for anything bad. Just not alone." Daniel felt a mix of feelings rise inside him. Part of him told him to walk away, to keep moving, to not let anyone close. But another part of him, the part that felt tired of running, wanted to stay. "I wasn't planning on going anywhere," he said. They went inside, the warmth of the building wrapping around them like a soft blanket. The room they found was simple. A bed, a small table, a window that looked out at the quiet street. They sat on opposite sides of the bed at first, both unsure of what to say. Then Lily spoke. "Whatever happens tonight," she said, "I just wanted to be honest." Daniel nodded. "Me too." They talked for hours, about childhood, about dreams that changed, about mistakes that still hurt. Daniel did not tell her everything, but he told her enough. That he had been part of something bad, that he tried to leave, that he carried something important that could help a lot of people, but also put him in danger. Lily listened, not judging, not interrupting. When he finished, she reached out and took his hand. "You don't look like a bad person," she said. "You look like someone who's tired of being one." Daniel felt something in his chest ease, just a little. Outside, the night moved on. Somewhere people searched for something they had lost. Somewhere plans were being made. But inside that small room, two strangers shared a moment that felt real in a world that often did not. As the first hint of light touched the edge of the window, Daniel and Lily sat together in quiet. Neither of them knew what the morning would bring. Neither of them knew how far this one night would reach into their lives. But for now, they were not alone. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. Morning came slowly, like it was unsure if it should enter the room or not. Soft light slipped through the thin curtain and touched the wall first, then the floor, then the edge of the bed. The city outside was waking up, but inside, everything felt quiet and still. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, his hands resting on his knees. He had not slept much. His mind kept moving, going over every sound from the night before, every word he and Lily had shared. The calm he felt in that small room did not match the world he knew was waiting outside. Lily stirred and opened her eyes. For a moment she looked confused, like she had forgotten where she was. Then she saw Daniel and remembered. She sat up slowly and pulled the blanket around her shoulders. "Morning," she said softly. Daniel turned and gave a small smile. "Morning." They stayed quiet for a few seconds, both feeling the weight of what the night meant. It was not just a simple meeting anymore. Something had started, even if neither of them could fully explain what it was. Lily stood and walked to the window. She moved the curtain a little and looked out at the street below. People were heading to work. Cars were lining up at the light, and life was moving forward like nothing had happened. "It's strange," she said. "The world looks the same, even when you feel different inside." Daniel nodded. "Yeah, I've noticed that too." They left the room after a simple breakfast from a small shop down the street. Daniel paid in cash, careful not to use anything that could leave a trace. Lily noticed, but she did not ask. She had learned that some questions were better saved for later. They walked together, not holding hands, but close enough that their shoulders almost touched. The air felt cooler now, and the city felt louder, sharper. Daniel's eyes kept moving, scanning faces, windows, corners. He tried to look normal, but the habit of watching never left him. Lily broke the silence.
"You don't have to stay with me today if you don't want to," she said.
"I know you have your own life." Daniel looked at her. "I don't really have a plan for today," he said, "and I don't like being alone." Lily smiled a little. "Me neither." They decided to walk to a small park by the river. It was a place Lily liked to go when she needed to think. The water moved slow and steady, like it did not care about the rush of the city around it. They sat on a bench, watching the sunlight dance on the surface of the river. For a moment, it felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. Daniel's phone vibrated in his pocket. His body went still. Lily noticed right away. "You okay?" she asked. He took the phone out and looked at the screen. There was a message from a number he did not recognize. Just a few words. "We know you're still here." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He locked the phone and put it back in his pocket.
"What is it?" Lily asked gently. Daniel stared at the river, trying to keep his face calm.
"Just work stuff," he said. Lily did not believe him, but she did not push. Instead, she placed her hand on the bench close to his, not touching, but close enough to remind him he was not alone. They talked about lighter things for a while. Lily told him about a patient she once helped who brought her a small plant as a thank you. Daniel talked about a job he had in another city, loading boxes in a warehouse where the radio always played old songs. But even as they spoke, the message stayed in Daniel's mind. The people he was running from were closer than he wanted to admit. As the day went on, they walked through crowded streets and quiet side roads. Lily showed him a small bookstore she loved, a place where the owner knew her by name. Daniel bought a used novel, even though he did not read much. He liked the idea of carrying something normal with him. In the afternoon, they sat in a small cafe. Daniel chose a table near the window where he could see the door and the street outside. Lily noticed again. "You always like to see what's going on around you," she said. Daniel hesitated. Then he sighed. "It's a habit I picked up. From a time in my life I wish I could forget." Lily leaned forward. "You don't have to tell me everything," she said, "but you don't have to carry it alone either." Daniel looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the tired kindness in her eyes, a strength she did not try to hide. He took a deep breath. "The thing I have," he said quietly, "it's proof. Proof that some bad people have been hurting others for a long time. If it gets to the right place, it can stop them." Lily's eyes widened a little. "And if it gets to the wrong place, they'll make sure I never get another chance to hand it over," Daniel said. Lily sat back, taking in his words. "Then why are you still here?" she asked. "Why not just give it to someone and disappear?" Daniel shook his head. "I don't trust many people, and the ones I used to trust, they're the reason I'm in this mess." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I know someone." "A reporter. He's honest. He cares about the truth. Maybe he could help." Daniel studied her face. He wanted to say no. He wanted to keep running, keep moving, keep everything in his own hands. But he was tired, and for the first time in a long while he felt like he did not have to face this alone. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe that could work." They agreed to meet the reporter the next day. Lily sent a message, keeping it simple, not giving away details. The reply came back fast. He was willing to listen. As the sun started to go down, Daniel felt the pressure in his chest grow again. Night was coming, and with it, the feeling that something was moving in the shadows. They walked back toward Lily's apartment. It was small but warm, filled with plants and photos on the wall. Daniel felt out of place there, like a storm standing in the middle of a quiet room. Lily made tea, the simple sound of water boiling filling the space. They sat at the small table, cups in their hands. "Do you ever wish you could go back?" Lily asked. "To before things got complicated?" Daniel thought about it. "Sometimes," he said. "But if I went back, I might make the same choices. I didn't always know what was right. I just knew what felt easy." "And now?" Lily asked. "Now I'm trying to do what feels right, even if it's hard," he said. A knock on the door made both of them jump. They froze. Lily's eyes went wide. Daniel stood slowly, every muscle in his body tense.
"Are you expecting someone?" he whispered. Lily shook her head.
The knock came again, louder this time. Daniel moved toward the door, careful and quiet. He did not open it. "Who is it?" he called. "Building manager," a voice said from the other side. "Just a quick check." Daniel and Lily exchanged a look. Something felt off. Lily stepped forward. "We're busy right now," she said. "Can you come back later?" There was a pause. Then footsteps moved away. Daniel let out a slow breath he did not realize he was holding.
"They're getting closer," he said quietly. Lily reached for his hand and held it tight.
"Then we'll move faster," she said. "We'll make sure what you're carrying gets where it needs to go." Outside, the city lights turned on, one by one. Somewhere in those streets, people were searching. Somewhere, plans were being made. Inside the small apartment, two people sat together, holding on to a fragile hope that tomorrow would bring answers instead of danger. Daniel looked at Lily and felt something strong and steady in his chest. Fear was still there, but so was trust. The night did not bring much rest. Daniel lay on the couch in Lily's small living room, staring at the ceiling while shadows from passing cars moved across the walls. Every sound outside made his heart beat faster. A door closing in the building, footsteps in the hallway. Even the soft hum of a car engine felt too loud, too close. Lily slept in her room, but not deeply. She woke more than once, listening to the quiet, thinking about the look on Daniel's face when he read that message earlier in the day. She knew he was carrying something heavy, something that could change more than just his own life. When morning finally came, both of them looked tired but determined. Lily made simple breakfast, toast and fruit, and they ate in silence for a while. The plan to meet the reporter felt real now, not just an idea. It was a step forward, and steps forward always came with risk. Daniel checked his phone. No new messages, but that did not make him feel safe. Sometimes silence meant people were waiting, watching, planning. They left the apartment together, taking different routes down the stairs and outside, just in case someone was paying attention. The street looked normal. People walked dogs. A delivery truck stopped at a corner shop. A bus passed by with a loud sigh of air. The meeting place was a small public library near the city center. Lily chose it because it was open, bright, and full of people. Daniel liked that there were many exits. They walked there without rushing, trying to look like any other pair heading into a normal day. But inside, both of them felt the tension, like a string pulled too tight. The library doors opened with a soft sound, and the smell of old books and clean floors filled the air. They found a table near the back, where the light from a window fell across the wooden surface. Daniel placed his backpack under his chair, keeping his foot on the strap. A man in his late 40s walked toward them. He wore simple clothes and carried a notebook under his arm. His eyes moved quickly, taking in the room before he sat down. "I'm Mark," he said. "Lily told me you had something important to share." Daniel studied him for a moment. Mark's face looked tired but honest, the kind of face that had seen many stories, good and bad. Daniel nodded. "I do," he said. "But I need to know you'll be careful with it." Mark leaned forward. "The truth matters to me," he said. "If you're willing to tell it, I'm willing to protect it." Daniel took a deep breath. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small, thin device wrapped in cloth. He did not open it yet. "This," he said, "holds records, names, dates, places, proof of how a group has been using their power to hurt people and hide it." Mark's eyes widened slightly. "This could change a lot," he said. "That's why they want it back," Daniel replied. Lily watched both men, her hands folded in front of her. She could feel the weight of the moment, even if she did not fully understand everything inside that device. More nodded slowly. "I have contacts," he said. "People who can help make sure this doesn't disappear. But once this goes public, there's no going back." Daniel thought about that. Going back had been his plan for a long time. Going back to a life where he kept his head down and stayed out of trouble. But that life was already gone. "I know," he said. "I'm ready." Before Mark could respond, Daniel noticed a man standing near the bookshelves. He was pretending to read, but his eyes were not on the pages. They were on them. Daniel's body tensed. Lily saw it and followed his gaze. The man closed the book and walked toward the front desk. Another person stood near the entrance, leaning against the wall, watching the room through the reflection in the glass. Daniel leaned closer to Lily and Mark. "We're not alone," he whispered. Mark's face stayed calm, but his eyes sharpened. "Then we don't stay here long," he said. They stood up, moving toward the side exit. The library felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in. As they pushed the door open, the man by the shelves started walking faster. The person at the entrance moved too. Outside, the street was busy, full of people and noise. Daniel grabbed Lily's hand, and they moved into the crowd. Mark stayed close behind. They turned down a narrow street, lined with small shops. Daniel looked back. The man from the library was there, a few steps behind, pretending to look at his phone. "Keep walking," Daniel said softly. They crossed the street, then another. Daniel led them into a small market, where voices and music filled the air. He hoped the crowd would slow anyone following them. Mark leaned in. "I know a safe place," he said. "A friend's office 2 blocks from here." They moved again, weaving through the stalls and out the other side of the market. The air felt heavy with the smell of food and the sound of people talking. For a moment, Daniel thought they might have lost the man. Then he saw him again, standing at the corner, talking into a small device near his ear. "They're calling for help," Daniel said. Mark's office friend worked in a tall building with a glass front. They rushed inside and took the stairs instead of the elevator. Daniel's legs burned as they climbed. They reached the 4th floor and knocked on a door marked with a simple sign. It opened to a woman with short hair and sharp eyes. "Mark," she said, "you look like you brought trouble with you." "Just a little," Mark replied. "We need your help." She let them in and locked the door behind them. The room was small but clean, with a desk, chairs, and a window that looked out over the street below. Daniel finally sat down, his hands shaking. Lily sat beside him, her hand still in his. Mark introduced the woman as Sarah. He explained quickly, showing her the device. Sarah listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded. "We can send copies to secure places," she said. "Once it's out there, it's hard to stop." Daniel felt a mix of relief and fear. This was it, the moment he had been running toward and away from at the same time. "Do it," he said. Sarah got to work, connecting the device to her computer. Lines of text and images filled the screen. Names Daniel recognized and names he hoped he would never see again. Lily watched, her heart pounding. She thought about how a simple walk on a quiet street had led to this moment, how one night had pulled her into a story much bigger than her own. Suddenly, there was a loud sound from the hallway, a door slamming.
"Voices. They're here," Daniel said.
Mark looked at Sarah. "How long?" "Almost done," she replied. "Just a few more seconds." Daniel stood by the door, his back against it. He did not have anything to fight with, only his body and his will. The handle on the door moved. Someone pushed from the other side. Lily stood up. Her hands clenched. She did not know what she could do, but she refused to hide.
Sarah hit a key on her computer. "It's sent," she said.
Daniel let out a breath. The weight on his chest lifted just a little. The door shook again, then stopped. Footsteps moved away. They waited in silence for a long moment. Then Mark looked out the window. "They're leaving," he said. "For now." Daniel sank back into his chair, his body finally letting go of the tension. Lily sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You did it?" she said softly. Daniel closed his eyes. "We did it," he replied. Outside, the city kept moving. People hurried past, unaware of the small battle that had just taken place in a quiet office. Daniel knew this was not the end. There would be questions, stories, and maybe more trouble. But the truth was out now, and that mattered. He looked at Lily and felt something strong and steady inside him. What had started as one night had turned into a shared fight, a shared hope. For the first time in a long while, Daniel felt like he was not running anymore. He was standing, facing what came next, with someone by his side. The city felt different the next day. The air carried a quiet tension, like people could sense that something important had shifted, even if they did not know what it was. New screens in shop windows showed short updates talking about new reports, new questions, and powerful names being mentioned. Daniel and Lily walked past them, keeping their heads down, listening without stopping. They did not go back to Lily's apartment. Mark had warned them that it was better to stay somewhere new for a while, somewhere no one would think to look. He had arranged for them to use a small room above a closed community center on the edge of the city. It was not comfortable, but it was safe, at least for now. The room had 2 narrow beds, a small table, and one window that looked out over a quiet street lined with old trees. Daniel stood by that window most of the time, watching the road below. Lily unpacked the few things they had brought, trying to make the space feel more like a place and less like a hiding spot.
"You don't have to stand there all day," she said gently.
Daniel gave a small smile. "Old habits," he replied. "They don't leave easy." Lily walked over and stood beside him. "You don't have to carry this alone anymore," she said. "You've already done the hardest part." Daniel nodded, but he knew the hardest part was not just sharing the truth. It was living with what came after. Later that afternoon, Mark came to see them. He looked tired but excited, like someone who had not slept but did not care because something big was happening. "It's spreading," he said as soon as he walked in. "Other reporters picked it up. People are asking questions. The group you exposed is losing support fast." Daniel felt a mix of relief and fear. "And them?" he asked. "The people who were after me?" Mark shrugged. "They're quiet right now." "That can mean they're laying low. Or it can mean they're planning something." Lily crossed her arms. "That doesn't make me feel better." Mark gave a small, tired smile.
"It shouldn't, but it does mean what you did is working." After Mark left, the room felt quiet again.
Lily sat on her bed, her hands folded in her lap. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" she asked.
Daniel thought about it. "All the time," he said.
"I don't really know how to live a normal life. I've been looking over my shoulder for so long, it feels strange not to." Lily looked at him. "Maybe we can learn together." The next few days passed slowly. They stayed inside most of the time, only going out when they needed food or supplies. Each trip outside felt like a test. Daniel watched every face, every car, every reflection in every window. One evening, as they were walking back from a small store, Daniel noticed a dark car parked across the street from the community center. It had been there before. "Lily," he said quietly, "keep walking. Don't look." Her heart started to beat faster, but she did what he said. They went inside and locked the door behind them. Daniel peeked through the window. The car was still there, its lights off. "They found us," Lily whispered. "Maybe," Daniel said, "or maybe it's just someone who lives nearby."
"But we can't take the chance."
They moved quickly, packing their things again. Daniel called Mark, keeping his voice low. "We need another place," he said. "Now." Mark did not ask questions. He gave them an address on the other side of the city, near the river. They left through the back door of the community center and took side streets, staying in the shadows, moving fast but not running. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She had never lived like this before, never felt like every step mattered this much. When they finally reached the new place, a small apartment above a closed shop, Daniel locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Lily sat down on the floor. "I thought this was over," she said softly. Daniel sat beside her. "I think it will be, but not yet." That night, Lily could not sleep. She lay awake, listening to the city outside. At some point, she heard Daniel moving around. She found him sitting at the small table, staring at the wall. "You okay?" she asked. He shook his head. "I keep thinking about the people I used to work with," he said. "Some of them weren't bad. They just followed the wrong leader. Now their lives are changing because of what I did." Lily sat across from him. "You didn't create that system," she said. "You just shined a light on it." Daniel looked at her. "Light can hurt," he said, "but I know it can also heal." The next morning, Mark called again. "There's going to be a public meeting," he said. "Officials, reporters, community leaders. They want someone who knows the truth from the inside."
Daniel knew what Mark was asking before he finished the sentence.
"I can't," Daniel said. "If I show my face, they'll know exactly where I am." "They already know who you are," Mark replied gently. "This is your chance to control the story instead of running from it." Daniel hung up and stared at his phone. Lily watched him, waiting.
"They want me to speak," he said.
Lily's eyes widened. "That's dangerous." "I know," he said, "but maybe it's the only way to end this." They argued for a while, their voices low but full of feeling. Lily wanted him safe. Daniel wanted the truth out, fully and clearly. Finally, Lily took his hands. "If you do this," she said, "I'm with you. But I need you to promise me something." "What?" he asked. "That you won't face that room alone," she said. Daniel felt a tight feeling in his chest, then a warmth. "I promise," he said. The day of the meeting came. The building was large, with cameras outside and people gathered on the steps. Daniel wore a simple jacket and a cap pulled low. Lily walked beside him, her hand brushing against his, steady and strong. Inside, the room was full. Voices filled the air, and lights from cameras blinked like small stars. Mark met them near the front. "You ready?" he asked. Daniel took a deep breath. "As I'll ever be." When his name was called, Daniel stood. The room grew quiet. He walked to the front, his legs feeling heavy, his heart beating hard in his chest. He looked out at the crowd. He saw faces filled with curiosity, doubt, hope, and fear. He thought about the night he met Lily, about the quiet street and the cold coffee cup, about how small moments could lead to big changes. "I'm not here because I want attention," he said, his voice steady but simple. "I'm here because I made choices that hurt people, and I'm here to help make sure those choices don't keep hurting them." He spoke about the group, about the system, about how easy it was to follow and how hard it was to leave. He did not use big words. He did not try to sound important. He just told the truth as he knew it. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then questions came, one after another. Daniel answered what he could, careful and honest. Lily watched from the side, her heart full and heavy at the same time. She had never been more proud or more afraid. When it was over, Mark led them out a side door. The air outside felt fresh, like the city had taken a deep breath. Daniel looked at Lily. "It's done," he said. She smiled, her eyes shining. "It's not done," she said. "It's just beginning." They walked away from the building together, not knowing what the future would bring, but knowing they would face it side by side. For Daniel, the world still felt uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it also felt open. The morning after the meeting felt quieter than any other day Daniel could remember. The city still moved, cars still passed, and people still hurried to their jobs, but something inside him had slowed down. It was like he had been carrying a heavy bag for years and finally set it down, even if only for a moment. Daniel and Lily stayed in the small apartment above the closed shop. Sunlight came through the window and painted soft shapes on the floor. Lily made tea, the same simple kind she always made, and placed 2 cups on the small table between them. Daniel sat across from her, holding the warm cup in both hands. "I don't know what today is supposed to feel like," he said. "Relief, fear, hope. Maybe all of it at once."
Lily smiled gently.
"It can be all of those," she said. "You don't have to pick just one." They listened to the radio for a while. News about the meeting played in short updates. People were talking about the story now, about changes that might come, about questions that needed answers. Daniel did not hear his name often, but he knew the story was moving without him now. It did not belong to him anymore. It belonged to everyone. Mark called later that day. His voice sounded tired but calm. "Things are settling," he said. "There's still noise, still arguments, but the pressure is working. Some people are stepping away from the group you exposed. Others are being asked hard questions." Daniel closed his eyes for a second.
"So it wasn't for nothing," he said. "No," Mark replied.
It wasn't. After the call, Daniel and Lily went outside for the first time in hours. They walked slowly, not rushing, not hiding. Daniel still looked around, still noticed every shadow and every reflection, but his shoulders felt lighter. They walked down to the river, the same place they had gone before everything grew so complicated. The water moved in its steady way, like it always had, like it always would. Lily sat on the bench and patted the spot beside her. Daniel joined her. "You know," she said, "I used to come here and think about what I lost. Now I come here and think about what I might build." Daniel looked at her. "And what do you want to build?" She thought for a moment. "A life that doesn't feel like it's always waiting for something bad to happen," she said. "A life that feels real." Daniel nodded. "I want that too." They sat in silence, watching the water. A child nearby threw small stones into the river, laughing when they made little circles on the surface. The sound felt like a reminder that not everything had to be heavy all the time. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel and Lily stayed in touch with Mark, but the calls became less urgent, more about updates than warnings. The dark car did not appear again. The feeling of being followed slowly faded, like a bad dream that loses its power in the light of day. Daniel started looking for work again. Something simple, something honest. He found a job at a small repair shop helping fix bikes and tools. He liked working with his hands, liked seeing something broken become useful again. Lily kept going to the hospital. She told Daniel about her patients, about small victories and hard losses. He listened, really listened, and she felt lighter for it. One evening, they sat in a small cafe near the shop where Daniel worked. The owner knew Lily now and always gave them an extra cookie with their tea. Daniel looked around the cafe. "Do you ever think about that night?" he asked.
The one where we met? Lily smiled.
"All the time," she said. "It feels like a different life." Daniel nodded. "I was so tired of running. I didn't even know it." "And now?" Lily asked. "Now I'm tired of standing still," he said. "I want to move forward. With you." Lily reached across the table and took his hand. "Then let's move forward," she said. Not everything became perfect. There were still days when Daniel woke up with his heart racing, thinking he heard a knock at the door. There were still days when Lily felt the old sadness about the person she had lost, but now they did not face those days alone. One afternoon, Mark invited them to a small gathering. It was not a big event, just a group of people who had worked together to bring the story to light. They met in a community hall with simple food and folding chairs. Mark stood up and thanked everyone. He did not make a long speech. He just said, "Truth doesn't move on its own. It needs people willing to carry it." Daniel felt Lily squeeze his hand. He knew the words were meant for him, but he also knew they were meant for all of them. After the gathering, a woman came up to Daniel. She looked nervous but determined. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said. "What you did helped someone I care about. It gave them a chance to speak up too." Daniel did not know what to say. He just nodded and said, "I'm glad it helped." On the walk home, Lily looked at him. "See?" she said. "Your story is part of other stories now." Daniel thought about that. He had spent so long trying to disappear, to leave no mark. Now he saw that leaving a mark did not always mean causing harm. Sometimes it meant creating space for others to breathe. They moved into a small apartment together near the repair shop. It had creaky floors and a window that faced the street. They filled it with plants, photos, and books. It started to feel like a real home. One night, as they sat on the floor eating simple dinner from paper plates, Lily laughed. "This is not how I imagined my life a year ago," she said. Daniel smiled.
Me neither, but I like it. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder.
"So do I." Months later, they went back to the street where they first met. The cafe was open now, bright lights and people inside. Lily bought 2 cups of coffee, hot this time, and handed one to Daniel. They stood under the streetlight just like before. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't walked this way that night?" Lily asked. Daniel thought about it. "Yeah," he said, "but I'm glad I did." They clinked their cups together in a small, quiet toast. The city around them kept moving, full of stories they would never hear and people they would never meet. But their story, the one that started with one night and grew into something stronger, felt steady and real. Daniel looked at Lily and felt something warm and sure inside him. Not excitement, not fear, but something deeper. Something like peace. He knew life would still bring challenges. He knew there would be days when the past tried to pull him back, but he also knew he had a reason to keep walking forward. Lily looked up at the streetlight, then back at him. "Ready to go home?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Yeah," he said.
I am?
They walked away together, their steps in quiet rhythm, not as people running from something, but as people moving towards something.